Kirito and Asuna wake up, the SAO King and Queen are back. So what's up guys, Foxen here. SAO Alicization, War of the Underworld episode 22. It's been a long SAO ride. Part of the journey is the end. Definitely double the like and ring the bell. And by the way, a new fresh SAO Kirito video is up. Please do watch that. I spent so much time on it, but YouTube is not sending it out. Anyway, the SAO Alicization epilogue begins, titled Alice. So jumping a little bit ahead, August 1st, you got the announcement to the world, the birth of the first true AI. You do have a glimpse of Asuna and Kirito, the two lovers still snoozing away at this point. As for Rinko's presentation, oh my god, I know that place. That is Roppongi, but more specifically, that's right next to the Mori Art Museum. That's where the Attack on Titan final exhibition took place. The whole area there is super pricey, which is why I don't go too often. Oh, and YouTube Tokyo is right there too. So, welcome Alice. You got her doing her night pose too. It was really interesting to see Alice sporting the uniform from the SAO Survivor School. Alice Synthesis 30. Interesting here to see her keep this keepsake from Quinella. So everyone gathered up at the Dicey Cafe. Sorry guys, all locked up for this IRL SAO meetup. The Sleeping Knights should have been there. Also the Alpha and Online leaders. Too bad they weren't highlighted. I was really curious to see what they look like in real life. Right here, I'm glad that Liz brought up the uniform look. Alice is not just cosplaying. Even better, the fun tidbit. Alice's first wardrobe choice was her Integrity Knight golden armor. Rinko must have been like, sorry hun, not in the budget. As for Shinin looking at Alice, saying she could hardly tell the difference. You got some light novel world building cut. Turns out what Alice is using isn't all that special. In the present time, theme parks or event halls in Japan had similar robots. In other words, the actual robot body was common enough for the times. Alrighty, let the Q&A begin. Alice, your time to shine. Miss Alice, what makes you different from the current robots? She's got a conscious brain housed inside of her light cube. Alright, so how about you explain it to us like we're 5? One detail I loved was just hearing how ultra formal this guy's question was. But at the same time, the tone of his just spoke the opposite. Please, open Alice's skull. We want to see her shiny metal ass. Oh, Alice here coming in with that sass. How about you showing me your juicy bits first? I frigging loved her not holding back one bit. Is Alice mad? Oh, she's super pissed. Small anime cut here. Alice had actually already converted to Alpha and Online. You won't be surprised which class she chose. This meant that Alice had already met Liz and Silica and the others over there. In VR, Alice still had her superhuman technique with a sword. Her knight pride and honor even struck fear and awe into the hearts of players there. Next fun topic, how about using AI as cheap labor? Which is already hitting super close to home with jobs being more and more automated. At least Rinko shot down this concern pretty quickly. Even if you go by Rath's original goal, the underworld people would have been used for war. Really quickly, I love the attention to detail here with the reporter lady sporting the Ogma device. So it all comes down to money. Robots are the hot topic. Oh yes, robot manufacturers are super interested. The anime left out their stock price shooting sky high. Towards this, you may have already guessed Rinko's answer, which is really a key point of SAO Alicization as a whole. The underworld people are pretty much on the level of being a human being, they just lack a physical body. I do have to touch on Rinko claiming that they cannot be mass produced. Sure, best not to let them know about Flocklight acceleration. All of this goes back to the topic of AI human rights. It is really what Asuna and Kiku butted heads on in the early SAO Alicization intro. Likewise, Kiku already knew where Kirito stood on the topic, so he conveniently left out that detail about Project Alicization. I really like how Rinko was trying to paint this bright future in the SAO world filled with AI. Eventually, after a few hundred years, the blending of the two worlds would be complete, if not sooner. I could just see Kaiba smiling in the background. If you think about it, a lot of the stuff that Rinko is talking about will be issues coming in the coming decades for us. Even going past that, one day marrying these individuals that lack a physical body. The future should be very interesting. But just seeing how 2020 has been going, let's hope we all make it there in a single piece. For an anime cut here, Rinko did emphasize how Alice not having a physical body was not the point. They already had a place where they could interact as equals, which is the VR realm. This was all thanks to the seed package that Kayaba made. VR spaces were already widely used everywhere. This very conference was actually considered to be in VR at first. Rinko also hammered down how these floodlights were perfectly compatible with the Sea's VR spaces. There was also another question before Alice jumped in. The reporter brought up how the Ocean Turtle and the research was technically funded by taxpayer money. So why was it their institution deciding, instead of putting it up for the people to vote? Then for the lady's remark about how they could be treated as equal, these man-made beings. That's surely going to be a touchy subject one day. Time for Alice to jump in, her time to shine. What if your world was also a created one? What if your life was also created by a much higher being? So another hot topic of discussion. You should notice how Alice took the words directly from Quinella. It was almost line for line the same for when Kirito and the trio came knocking. All of these guys better be glad that Alice is in front of them instead of Grandma Admin. I could see Quinella's first words being, "Bend the knee, humans." In the end, I was glad how Alice closed this, her being ready to reach out to the people here as a fellow human being herself. All of this was almost perfect. Unfortunately, you do have the line about love. You know what Alice is referring to. It is a shame too because that could have been removed or rephrased, because I'm almost sure that Reki has clarified what Alice meant by her statement, just after the fact. Don't quote me on this, but I vaguely do recall that Alice's love was described as being more maternal towards Kirito, since she did spend so much time taking care of him. But of course with the anime you don't have that. Everyone's gonna take that line at face value. Oh, Alice loves Kirito, the potato dude she knows nothing about. Let me just mention I do love Alice's character, especially seeing her struggles post-Quinella. But I feel like this not being expanded on takes away so much from her character. I don't know if this also makes it worse, since you did have young Alice and Eugeo dying. Now you have the night Alice that remains proclaiming her love. It just feels awfully wrong, and I'm not really sure how they could actually remedy this, without straight out reviving Eugeo then pairing them up somehow, or hammering down what Reki originally meant in SAO Unitoring. And perhaps Reki has done that, but unfortunately anime only people are not gonna find out till years later. I can say that I definitely had my own issues with SAO-licization, and this would be among the top of that list. So I don't know, would anyone want to see a video on that? Right now I'm siding with not doing anything negative SAO related. Stacia knows there's already so much out there. Anyway, getting to Stranger Things, back at Wrath with Higa. Turns out officially Kiku has been killed from the Ocean Turtle raid. In TV for the anime, they conveniently left out how the defense ship idly stood by while all of this was happening, really speaking about the corrupt Japanese side in play. Oh, but what's this? Kiku back from the dead. There were a few important key things here. Having this guy announced officially dead put so much public pressure in Japan to out those involved. It actually went up to the Vice Minister of Defense. The guy was getting a huge chunk of change from American weapon companies. Ultimately revealing Alice in public was part of Kiku's plan. It was about sending a message. Now the world knows what Japan is capable of. These weapon companies couldn't force Japan into this joint partnership. Project Alicization had already been perfected. Getting to Kirito in the Soul Translator. At this point, Kirito and Asuna had been in potato mode for 3 weeks. In the underworld, that would have been 200 plus years. Their floodlight should have been completely destroyed, but thankfully their hearts were still beating. Unfortunately, the anime cut out Wrath telling their parents. Asuna's papa was super pissed. The guy was gonna go full on Karen in court. Thankfully, Asuna's mother stopped him. She believed in Asuna. She was confident that Asuna would return safe and sound. Anyway, back to the conference, someone had to ask, any chance of a Terminator timeline? I feel like Ringo gave the most obvious, but perhaps difficult to execute answer. No worries, just don't enslave them or try to destroy them. Simple. But you know it, I know it. If human history is anything to go by, Alice better start building the T-1000s now. I feel it's very natural to think that AI will lead to our own destruction. How many stories have we had about this happening? Skynet may be the most famous. Although let me ask you for some help. Do you know of any popular positive AI tales? Then for Alice here, oh, I sense a disturbance. I'm not gonna let the potatoes escape this time. Fun little thing to notice here. From the reporter's point of view, you had the evil AI question. Then right away, Alice was like, oh, time to go. You could bet all these guys are now sweating bullets. Holy crap, Alice teleported. I really can't say I'm too much of a fan of the anime changes here. Unlike in the anime, Alice actually called out to Kirito and Asuna. They cut out Alice performing what seemed to be like a prayer for Asuna and Kirito. There was also a mention about Alice, how she had adapted to the new environment in just 3 weeks. It was all due to this powerful driving force that possessed her to see Kirito and Asuna again. Then for Kirito waking up, he whispered, "Daijobu, are you alright?" And Asuna replied back, "Sure," as she was waking up. As for the heartbreaking stuff, poor Selka. She chose to go into deep freeze waiting for Alice to return one day. Notice how Kirito referred to Asuna as a queen. Underworld king and queen, sayonara. I need to point out something important here. Despite Kirito telling them to delete all those memories, Wrath actually can't really do that. For them, it's always been blocking them. Think about it being similar to deleting something on your hard drive. The data is technically still there. Which does bring up SAO Unitoring. To be fair, I am still very early into it, but I heard this does come into play going forward. Anyway, give me some Asuna. What a wonderful choice with the blue roses. It turns out Asuna actually got out 3 days earlier. Come on, give me the Kirito and Asuna scraps. It looks like the kiss ain't happening. Damn you, A1 Pictures. Oh, and Asuna with that hairstyle, that's definitely getting a figure. Then for the Underworld memories, I don't know, perhaps I'm insane, but I'm still surprised that the anime is skipping stuff. But I guess that's why I'm here. So quick rundown. At least one positive thing after this war, the Dark Territory and Human Empire were on positive terms. Isekan heard that Kirito was Leafa's brother, and also the one that melted God Vecta. The guy punched him, he had to test him out. Isekan actually admitted that Kirito was tougher than that crappy god. Turns out Isekan officially became the new commander of the Dark Army. Sheta volunteered to stay over on the Dark Territory side. She would serve as the bridge to both sides. For the Integrity Knights, Fanatia was now the highest ranking one. First order of business, time to kick out the imperial families and the nobles who were trying to take the power post-war. For Kirito and Asuna, both of them officially joined in the Human Unification Council. Both of them brought peace to the underworld and they were active for around 200 years. If you have any questions about the events here, post down below. Poor Kirito, you got him sobbing at the thought of this. It is pretty sad to realize, at this point with them outside, everyone they knew in the underworld, all the knights, Isekan, Roni, Tise, all of them were no longer alive. Stay cool, Kirito. You got their memories. Smile because it happened. Damn it, Kiku, interrupting these lovebirds. Should you really be out and about? I also freaking called the anime cutting out the gift Kiku brought for them. It was a bag of fish, tofu, and cheese. Another small anime cut. Kiku confirmed that Kirito being sent to the underworld without his memories blocked was not on purpose. Doing so would have contaminated the underworld, but it looks like Yanai already had. At least Kirito with his memories was able to put the underworld back on track. Getting into important matters with Kiku. Unfortunately, the underworld was in a terrible current position. The Japanese government wanted to shut them down to create ultra cheap labor. Thankfully, they couldn't just do that, otherwise the actual truth of the ocean turtle would come out. It would be this huge scandal between the NSA, weapon companies, the Vice Minister of Defense, along with other members of the ruling party that had financial connections to major domestic weapon companies. It's just a messy situation. Kiku's amazing plan, drum rolls please, hope. Really boiling down to a wide acceptance of AI human rights. To be fair, that shouldn't actually be too difficult for anyone that actually comes in contact with them. Looks like Alice is not only going to be the face of this AI movement, she's going to be doing the heavy lifting on this side. Hope you're ready, Alice. I would not want to be in her shoes. So what would Kiku be up to? You really should notice a progression and development for him. He was once the guy that saw the underworld and its people expendable. Now he was helping the underworld as his new dream. Getting to an Asuna and Kirito scene that the anime cut out. They wondered what Kiku could truly be doing. They felt like his role was now going beyond, perhaps towards what Kayaba envisioned. And then another important moment cut out. Both of them didn't know how they survived those 200 years. Perhaps they had done something similar to Quinella, reorganizing their memories. But one thing was clear. Kirito had made it back to the real world only because Asuna was at his side. Why did you cut this? While stroking Asuna's hair, both of them logged into Alphen Online for a meeting. Getting to the shady stuff with Higa. What have you done? Not only sneaking out a light cube, but copying over this 200-plus-year-old Kirito. The king does not sound happy. Higa himself sounded weird here too. Was it the scientist in him coming out? Let's not question whether you should do it, let's just do it. For Kirito here, did Her Majesty get copied too? No, why would I copy Asuna too? I'm calling it, that guy's freaking lying. Which I don't know that for sure, but I'm not buying that for a second. Oh my god, that Asuna and Kirito tease, so sweet. Thankfully, both of these two considered the possibility within those 200 years. Time to use any remaining time for the underworld's sake. Excel World vibes definitely intensified. Getting to the main issue at hand, right now the underworld is taking up physical resources. On top of this, all of this is backed by the government. As long as the underworld is left in limbo, they got about 5 years worth of time to figure something out. Kirito's remark, I'll fight. Oh, looks like they were looking for the Terminator in the wrong place. Kirito versus Kirito win. Then for the Kayaba name drop, I'm super glad that the anime gave a face to the Star King. Looks like Kirito's taking a page out of Quinella. Higa, you're now working for me, buddy. Which really brings up the question, what would happen if Kirito and Kayaba met up? This is really getting my brain firing for Unitor Ring and Excel World stuff. Getting back to young Kirito. The ode pad haven't been back here in like 2.5 years, not counting blocked memories. Poor Kirito having that Yu-Gi-Oh wound bursting out open again. This was definitely hashtag cry time for me. One of the things the SAO Alicization anime elevated for me was Yu-Gi-Oh, especially his loss. Hopefully you saw the post-credit, the world's most popular lady sporting purple. I think that actually goes well with the blonde hair. Poor Blondie starting to break down, too much thrown on her shoulders. Feels like lately I could relate with all the non-stop video I've been doing. Oops, did I say that out loud? So how did you like this SAO episode? I feel like this is a great change of pace. This final SAO chunk has practically been action non-stop, so much to the point that some SAO watchers have gotten lost. SAO Alicization as a whole is mostly over. This episode was core SAO. Let's see where this AI discussion of human rights goes. Final SAO episode is next week. Fingers crossed some type of future SAO anime gets announced. For one cutscene at the start, but I'm guessing it's gonna come back next episode. It was Kayaba that got recovered from the robot that sunk to the bottom of the ocean, which means the dude had an escape plan from the beginning. Kayaba will return. Talking about an SAO sequel, an SAO War of the Underworld after event just got announced. Everyone's gonna be there. You got Eri, Reona, Lisa, Asuka, the SAO director, all the voice actors from the SAO anime, plus more. Interestingly, Asuna's voice actress will not be there. Considering the global situation, I really can't blame her. The event is taking place on November 8th. How appropriate. Fingers crossed the new SAO anime project gets announced there. I'm just hoping and wishing I could get a ticket to the event. And let me just apologize in advance, I will be stupid enough to risk you know what, and even overpay if needed. By the way, definitely check out my new SAO video on why Kirito is supposedly overpowered. Why did Kirito wake up from potato mode and gain what seemed like godly powers? This video goes super in depth on that. Between me and my editor, we spent like 80 plus hours on it. Unfortunately, YouTube is not sending it out to you, so definitely watch that next. Anyway, bonus question. The SAO anime is pretty much done, so what has been your favorite SAO Season 3 moment? Bonus points that the anime did it better. Definitely subscribe and ring the bell for more juicy anime videos. New Kirito and ReZero videos are up, and I'll see you guys later.